Hi, my beauties. My name is Dr. Stefani Kappel and I'm a board-certified fellowship-trained cosmetic dermatologist in Newport Beach, California. And today I wanted to do a video on how to safely and effectively incorporate retinol into your summer skincare routine. So I'm in the office today. We just finished seeing patients and my office is 100% cosmetic and laser and aesthetic dermatology, and we're located in Newport Beach, California, and it's pretty much sunny year-round here, but in the summer, of course, there's more sun exposure, the days are longer, and a lot of my patients are asking, do I have to stop my vitamin A derivative or my retinol or my retinoid during the summer months? And I wanted to do this video because the answer is no. You would think because there's more photosensitivity in the summer months that you should stop your vitamin A derivative, but that's in fact when you need it the most. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks to incorporate or continue your vitamin A derivative use during the summer months. But before I move on, I ask that you like and subscribe and share this channel with anyone who wants non-sponsored content from a board-certified dermatologist on YouTube, which I feel is a rarity these days. So all my content's non-sponsored. I've always been non-sponsored, I always have, and I always will, and that's my promise that I will continue throughout the course of my career. I've been practicing for almost 20 years in dermatology, and I stay true to this, and I feel that I just wanted to, recommend the treatments and products that I feel are best for my patients, and not because I'm being paid or in contract with the company to do so. So what are vitamin A derivatives and what do they do for the skin? Vitamin A derivatives, also known as retinoids, dermatologists we often call them retinoids, are usually the foundation of every skincare routine. Now, if you don't use a vitamin A derivative or retinoid in your skincare regimen, I don't want you to freak out or panic, but it is probably the most impactful active ingredient for the skin other than sunscreen. Of course, sunscreen is number one. It's the most important to photoprotect our skin. But as far as skincare actives, there is overwhelming data and research over decades that show that vitamin A derivatives are the most impactful for the skin when it comes to strengthening the barrier, increasing cellular renewal, increasing the transepidermal time of a skin cell or a keratinocyte, increasing collagen synthesis, increasing elastin synthesis, and increasing glycosaminoglycans and all those extracellular matrix proteins that give skin that beautiful, smooth, dewy, bouncy contour. Those are all vitamin A derivatives. Now, if you don't have a vitamin A derivative incorporated in your routine, I don't want you to freak out because other skincare actives are also really important. And so the purpose of this video is to guide you on to how to continue your use of your vitamin A derivative or even start a vitamin A derivative during the summer months, because there's a stigma that you have to stop your vitamin A derivative during the summer because of photosensitivity, and that is not at all the case. So I believe use of a retinol is really important on a daily basis or on a bi-weekly basis or any frequency duration that works best for you and your skin. Now, this is the thing with vitamin A derivatives, and I've done YouTube videos on this in the past. There's a whole different range and category of different vitamin A derivatives, starting at cosmeceutical vitamin A derivatives, which include retinaldehyde and retinol, and then you have adapalene also, which is over the counter, which used to be prescription strength, which is also in the vitamin A derivative category, and then you have your tretinoin, which is prescription strength and comes in various percentages and vehicle delivery systems, which can increase the potency, which also increase the effects, but also can increase your sensitization or retinoid dermatitis or irritation. So you have to keep that in mind because it's a balance of you don't want your skin too irritated, but you want it strong enough to where you're going to get the most benefit. And then at the end of the spectrum, the strongest strength, and I would say only 1 to 2% of my patients are on this category, and that would be tazarotene or Tazorac. And so you have this whole continuous spectrum of vitamin A derivatives, and most of my patients, I feel, with the healthiest skin incorporate some type of vitamin A derivative on their skin anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. Studies have shown that use of a retinol 5 times a week is beneficial. Anything less than that, you're not really getting the full benefit of it. And any more than that, it could be diminishing returns. But there's the verdict isn't out. There's a lot of research and clinical data and studies that show 5 days a week are enough, but when you look at those 5 days, it doesn't matter whether it's a cosmeceutical, non-prescription strength, or over-the-counter vitamin A, or like a straight up tretinoin prescription strength? So the answer is the best vitamin A for your skin is the one that you're going to use. And the one that you're going to use is one that you're happy with the results. You're not always walking around flaky and peely and irritated, because who wants to live life that way? And of course we want beautiful, perfect skin, but it's not at the expense of always having to be peely and irritated, right? So I always guide my patients with the right vitamin A derivative for them. And we kind of can work our way up to a point where you're getting the benefits. And if you push the limits any more than that and you get too much irritation, then you back down. But it's a slow and steady wins the race type of situation with this active, because it takes a while for your skin to get used to the active ingredient. It takes your skin a little bit to build a tolerance to it. And once you do build that tolerance and you see the benefits of the vitamin A derivative on your skin, you can gently and gradually increase it to a stronger dose. Now, when you increase the dose of a vitamin A, you can increase the class, like moving from a retinol to a tretinoin, or moving from a tretinoin to a Tazorac, which very few people can do, so don't get hung up on that. Or you can increase the percentage. You can go from a 0.05% retinol to a 1% retinol to a 2% retinol, or you can go from a 0.25% tretinoin to 0.05% tretinoin to 0.1% tretinoin, and then on. The other way that you can increase the potency or the effect of a vitamin A derivative is by just purely changing the vehicle or the formulation. Not all percentages, remember this, are created equal. You can have two different retinols that are 1%, and one is a gel form and one is engineered and microencapsulated with a vehicle delivery system that is good for sensitive skin, that has the same percentage of retinol but is way less irritating on the skin. It all has to do with the formulation and what it's formulated with, and the vehicle delivery system that it's being delivered to the skin to where it has its effect. And we're talking about retinoic acid because whether you're using adapalene or whether you're using retinaldehyde, whether you're using a retinol or using a straight up retinoic acid or a tretinoin, they all get converted to the molecule retinoic acid. And the retinoic acid binds a receptor which is inside the nucleus of the skin cell, and it literally binds a promoter region in the DNA, and it affects the transcription and translation of genes in the cell that actually have this effect. So when you're talking about other skincare actives that have like a more passive effect on a keratinocyte or a skin cell, vitamin A is just different. I mean, you are turning on gene transcription, you're turning on genes, you're really changing the functionality of a skin cell, and that's why it's so impactful with respect to the results. When we talk about increased cellular renewal, increased collagen synthesis, there are genes being transcribed and translated and turned on by actual molecules binding a gene in a promoter region and signal transduction cascades, and I don't want to get too technical, but even in formulating my own skincare line, MD Air, it's fascinating. And with years of training, and although I'm a dermatologist, to get here I've had to go through pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, molecular chemistry, biochemistry, and so you learn about all of these pathways and these genes and how they work. And so when you formulate a skincare product, having a effect of an active ingredient that's going to have maximal skin benefit without having all of the deleterious or side effects that you don't want is really, really impactful. But when you know what you're doing and you know how these pathways work and you understand the science and chemistry behind it, it just makes it so fun. And that's why even with my RXR retinol by MD Air, it packs a punch with efficacy, but it doesn't have all that sensitization that vitamin A derivatives do. So you don't have to beat your skin up and make your skin have that retinoid dermatitis where you're red and dry and flaky, especially like around the mouth and around the nose and around the eyes, to have an effect. It just has to be a smart retinoic acid variant and derivative and vehicle delivery system to have the effect on the skin cell without all that irritation. And a lot of that has to do with the molecule having to be inside the nucleus of the cell, turning on gene transcription and translation, which not only makes it more efficacious and effective, but it keeps the product inside the cell where it needs to be. A lot of products, including retinols and in skincare lines, which I actually really like, a lot of these skincare lines that I know and love, the product gets exocytosed or gets outside of the cell into the extracellular matrix. And what does it do? It's not turning on genes. It's not changing the way that the cell performs. It's not changing the increase in collagen synthesis. All it's doing is recruiting inflammatory cascades and inflammatory cells outside the cell, which cause you redness, dryness, peely, irritation, histamine reactions where you get itchy. And that's not, you don't want your product outside the cell. You want it inside the cell. You want it in the nucleus of the cell, turning on genes and doing its job, doing what we want it to do, not recruiting a bunch of inflammatory cascades and immune cells that make you irritated. So once you understand that concept, and once you try a vitamin A derivative and you're like, wow, my skin looks great and I'm not irritated, that's amazing. That's what you want. And so during the summer months, the last thing I want you guys to do is to use like a tretinoin or like a prescription strength that's just going to irritate your skin and not have any positive benefits. Because what vitamin A derivatives can also do is in the summer months where we're in the sun, even when we wear sunscreen and we use our helio care, we photoprotect and we're in the shade, DNA mutations are occurring all the time. They're being corrected and they're occurring, and we want to tip the balance to where you're correcting more then you're damaging more. And so vitamin A derivatives during the summer months are really, really important, but I think there's a few tips that we can do to make them more tolerable during the summer months. And number one is using sunscreen every day. Number two is maybe using your vitamin A derivatives at night. Now, most retinols get broken down during UV light anyway, which is why dermatologists will recommend using your retinol or your vitamin A derivatives at night. But certain retinols are photostable. Like my RXR retinol is photostable. It doesn't get broken down during sunlight because of the way it's microencapsulated and protected in the vehicle delivery system. But for all other vitamin A derivatives, if you have one that you like and you use and it is labile, you want to use it at night. It will also decrease sensitization because while you're out in the sun and you're out and about and you're getting that photo exposure, it may make you more sensitive to it. So using a vitamin A derivative that is irritating or may have more photosensitizing effects, using it at night is really important. Also, mixing it with a hydrator or some type of moisturizer will be really efficacious and helpful. So sometimes I'll have my patients do a 1-to-1. Usually you use just a pea-sized amount and you mix it with an equal parts of a hydrator or moisturizer that you like, mix it in the palm of your hands and apply it to your skin. Just not using more than a pea-sized amount is really important too. Something about more than a pea-sized amount can make your skin freak out and give you that retinoid dermatitis that you want to avoid. Mixing with the hydrator, using just a pea-sized amount, and using it at night is really important, especially if you're using a vitamin A derivative for the summer months. And those are the 3 best tips that I can give you. Now, another way to minimize irritation is using a retinol with a hydrator, but instead mixing it 1-to-1, putting on your hydrator first, and then putting on your pea-sized amount of your vitamin A derivative after. Or even layering 3 layers of it, doing a hydrator, your pea-sized amount of a retinol, and then another hydrator on top. Remember that hydrators and moisturizers will help cut out that sensitization, that red, dry, peely effect, and the irritation that you get from a vitamin A derivative, but won't impact the efficacy. They've done lots of clinical studies and research on this, and it's a known fact. It won't decrease the efficacy of your vitamin A derivative or your retinol, but it will make it a little bit more soothing to your skin and not so irritating. So another thing to be mindful of is that vitamin A derivatives and retinol, for example, can be highly dependent on what it's formulated with how irritating it is. So you want to get a retinol that's formulated and engineered smartly and with higher technology that's going to not irritate your skin as much. So again, like I said, you can have 2 different retinols, both 1%, but one's formulated in a lipophilic microencapsulated vehicle delivery system, and the other one is in a gel form, and that one's going to be way more irritating than your vitamin A derivative that's engineered a little bit more elegantly. And so they're both going to have the same efficacy, but this one's going to be a lot more irritating because it's in a gel form. And I remember this was a question even on our dermatology boards. When you have 2 equivalent active ingredients or drugs or pharmaceuticals that are in different vehicle delivery systems, you can increase the potency of that active, not even by increasing the percentage of it, but by increasing the vehicle delivery system. For example, when you're talking about tretinoin, you can have a tretinoin in a microgel or a gel form that's 1%, and you can have a tretinoin that is a 1% in a cream form. The gel form is going to be way more potent than the cream form. And even so, they'll go as far as to say a 0.025% gel is stronger than a 0.05% cream. And I remember that was a question on my boards where the percentage was actually lower, but it was a more potent active because of the vehicle delivery system that it was in. So don't get hung up on looking at the percentages because all formulations are different and formulating these products are everything. Now, sometimes vitamin A derivatives will have other actives in it that can make it more irritating, like niacinamide or AHAs or some type of active, not usually vitamin C, but other actives that can also irritate your skin even without the vitamin A derivative in it. So it's important to look at your formulation and just actually test it. Test a product that you've done research on, that you're interested on. Maybe you have a friend or loved one who enjoys that product and has had beautiful results in his or her skin. Try it for yourself, but if it disagrees with your skin, just incorporate it once a week at bedtime and see how you do. And if it just out the gate doesn't agree with you, then maybe it's because of the formulation of that product. So don't get just hung up on the percentage. Look at the way it's engineered. Look at the way it's formulated, because that's everything and has everything to do with not only your results, but your tolerance of it and your level of sensitivity to it. And another point I wanted to bring up is sometimes people get hung up on, especially when you're talking about cosmeceuticals, the non-prescription vitamin A derivatives, retinol and retinaldehyde, and which one's better. And there's a lot of media and marketing and hype that hypes up retinaldehyde because it's new and it's sexy. When it comes down to it, and if you've taken pharmacokinetics and pharmacology and chemistry and biochemistry, you understand that these pathways are all dynamic in the skin. So retinaldehyde, when you talk about a 1 or 2 step conversion, retinaldehyde gets converted to retinol and retinol gets converted to retinaldehyde. Now, it was interesting because I look at my pharmacology books, and I look at my chemistry books, and I'm like, wow, was I missing something? Am I remembering this correctly? Because when I do a Google search, because I want to see when my patients look this stuff up, what they're getting access to, which is different than our medical literature and like your actual like hardcore like chemistry and biochem books. When you're looking at these pathways in the skin, they get converted back and forth to one another. When you Google it, you see a lot of schematics, like if you do retinaldehyde or retinoic acid or retinol signal transduction cascades or diagrams or schematics, you type it in, you type images, it usually shows this one-way conversion. But in actuality, all of these molecules are getting converted back and forth in the skin, and they eventually get to retinoic acid, which is the effective molecule that binds the receptor, a heterodimer receptor, RAR and RXR, which is why I named my MDR retinol or RXR retinol. So it binds that receptor, which is in the promoter region of a gene, which increases signal transduction cascades and transcription and translation of genes to have the effects of the skin that we want it to have. But the important thing to note is even when you use a retinaldehyde, it gets converted to retinol and to retinoic acid. When you use a retinol, it gets converted to retinaldehyde and retinoic acid. So I don't have a preference for retinol or retinaldehyde or retinoic acid. I feel that patients should use what they like the best and not get hung up on, well, I have to have retinaldehyde because it's only a 1-step versus a 2-step conversion, because that's just bogus and fake science. Anyway, that's just not true. You ask any organic chemistry professor and they'll tell you the same. So I feel that marketing sometimes can be misleading and make something seem sexier than it really is, and science is not that black and white. All of the pathways in our skin, all of these chemical cascades are going back and forth and are in flux, and you tip them one way or another and eventually get the skin benefits that you want. But it's a very highly complex two-way flowing system. And so I just wanted to mention that too, because I know I'm going to get a lot of questions on retinol versus retinaldehyde. I like them both. I feel like they're equally equivalent, and I feel like the best of the two is the one that you're actually going to use and that you like and that you tolerate well and that your skin is showing you the benefits of. Now, with that said, say you're using a retinaldehyde and you're using it because you have sensitive skin and you want to use something that's not as irritating, or people say is not as irritating. Look at your skin and see if you're noticing a change. That's what I always tell my patients. You want to build a tolerance. You want to get to a point where you're not too irritated and your skin's tolerating it well, but you also want to see the results of it. If you don't see results within, I say, 1 to 2 weeks of using a retinol or vitamin A derivative, I say it's time to toss it, because you should see a benefit in your skin within that short amount of time. Now, there may be a small percentage of people who may have a purge, especially if they're more acne prone. That said, there's a change in the extracellular matrix proteins. I get that. But all in all, your skin should start looking better after just a few weeks of use of products. Pores should be smaller. Brown spots and hyperpigmentation should be getting lighter. Breakouts should be lessening, and if they're not, I don't feel it's the right vitamin A derivative for you, and you'd have to just swap it out and try something else. And so if it's not working, I feel that you don't want to waste your time and expose your skin to something that's not doing any benefit, but you also do have to allow maybe a couple weeks for it to show. But your skin will show you and tell you if a product is effective or not. So hopefully after watching this video, you'll be able to continue your use of vitamin A or retinol during the summer months, or even start using a retinol during the summer months. And don't be afraid because of the photosensitivity. Continued use during the summer months is really important to help correct and protect the skin from sun damage, photo damage, environmental pollutants, longer exposure to the sun during the days, and UV radiation. And by using it at night and using it less frequently, and by not getting too frustrated and being patient and slow and steady wins the race, I think it will be an added benefit to everyone. And I think getting a retinol that is smart and elegant in its technology and the way it's engineered and formulated is everything, especially during the summer months, because you want to pack a punch with efficacy, but you don't want to have all that sensitization and the retinoid dermatitis that we can sometimes see during the summer months. All right, so drop a comment and let me know what you think of this video, and if you want me to touch on anything else I forgot to during this video in summer use of retinol. All right, you guys, thank you so much.